Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
We do.
It's the truth.
We have fun here at Wine and Crime.
We do.
I'm Kenyon.
Oh, I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda and I have something to say.
Oh, great.
Couple things. One, first of all, we were going to record yesterday, so I showered. I got all glam. It was like a whole
so
thing.
good.
You did. She looked
Stunning.
glam.
Right? And I even filled in the little part of my eyebrow that I accidentally shaved off in a dermablading aggressive incident. So you can see it right here.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't fill it in today because fuck that.
Yeah.
But yesterday, that was filled in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, if you see a flash of a little white hairball in the background, that is Blanche, and he is a 5-month-old lionhead rabbit, and he is a rascal.
And
Full
he is
name
Amanda's.
Blanche Dubois.
Blanche Dubois.
This is Amanda's latest gentleman friend. And
I love him.
And
He's
member
finishing
of
out
menagerie.
He's finishing out his last day of like pound puppy quarantine to make sure he didn't get any kind of kettle cough, and then I can introduce him to Albus. So I'll send some video.
God bless you.
Yeah, I think that union is going to be interesting because Albus is a loaf of bread that does nothing.
Yeah,
and is like
Elvis
5 years old.
does nothing.
Nothing.
Albus
Tolerates everything and
perfect.
does nothing.
He does steal cardboard toilet paper roll holders.
He loves cardboard. He's currently working on a wicker like toy ball that's for rabbits that I got him. He is destroying it.
Oh.
And he loves to try and take tortilla chips directly out of your hand or mouth.
Mm-hmm.
These are things he likes to do.
Those are his only hobbies.
That's his personality.
Well, now
And
that we
I'm
know
about-
now that we know what a rabbit is,
Right?
Can we get back to
I'm
the
just saying, today I'm wearing the clothes I slept in. I did put on a bra. I did not put on any makeup, and I ran a comb through my hair. So you're just getting day after Amanda.
You're not wearing makeup? You look beautiful.
Yeah, you look good.
Your hair looks amazing.
I'm wearing
Okay, well, not with that face.
sample lipstick from Sephora.
I
And
love
am
a good
just
sample.
milking that sample.
All right, what the fuck are we doing here?
Oh my
right.
God,
Hi,
okay.
This is our podcast where I
So-
talk about rabbits and not wearing deodorant for a day.
Well, we have a very special fan pick this week brought to you by our fan picker, Caitlin Jennings.
Ugh.
And we would like to wish Caitlin a very happy early birthday.
It's your early birthday, and then listen to this again on your birthday, and it's your birthday.
At this point, it might not be such an early birthday because we had to scoot this sucker around a couple times.
Oh, we did.
It might be your belated
Happy
birthday.
Happy belated.
Wait a year, listen to it again, and happy birthday.
Whatever. We're doing our best, okay? Sometimes
barely
episodes
hanging
have to
on.
get shuffled around, and that's because we are three flawed humans.
Mm-hmm.
Very flawed humans.
That's our
Very
personality.
flawed, barely humans.
So Caitlin has selected the topic of intellectual property crimes,
Sure has.
which we're very excited about because we have a very, very special wine pairing.
That
Wine
we
crime
do.
pairing.
Shall we?
Take it away.
Yeah.
Well, you know from however many episodes ago we first talked about this, that we've launched our own wine. It is our intellectual property. The Gals
Sure
wine line.
is.
And it's gorgeous. And if you're watching us on Patreon right now, you're looking at me
Yeah.
caress this bottle. Look at the label.
Look at the
Give
label.
it a kiss. She's so cute. We have 3 different wines currently available. You can purchase them by navigating to our website, wineandcrimepodcast.com, and just clicking on that wine tab. And that'll take you right to where you need to go. We're currently selling a rosé because it's time for rosé always, all year long. A red blend that is a Grenache
Oh,
and Syrah and Merlot. So good.
So good.
But today, we're going to drink our Chardonnay because, yes, we did make a Chardonnay. We found a Chardonnay that we actually really like. Turns out miracles do happen.
Yeah.
Good Chardonnay exists.
Challenge yourselves. Do what scares you.
Challenge accepted.
Take a leap.
What makes this, as it says on the label, like this isn't your grandma's Chardonnay, okay? Because it's aged in neutral oak, and it is a Central Coast California Chardonnay, so it's very crisp. It's a little more delicate. I personally think it drinks more like a Sauv Blanc.
I think it's in between, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Chardonnay fans and Sauv Blanc fans will like it.
1,000%.
And I love it, and I am very picky with white wine.
It's really, really good. It's also a very small batch. We only did 50 cases of this wine. So get her while she's hot, but she shouldn't be hot. She should be cold. Served chilled.
Chilled.
I still have not moved all of the items that belong to me and belong on my bar from my old apartment. I don't want to talk about it. So I'm also drinking this out of a Plan Ahead Salt Your Dead bar glass, which is currently available on the online store. Yeah, wineandcrimepodcast.bakecartel.com. These are
available in
gorgeous.
sets of 2. They're an etched
They're
rock
etched, y'all.
glass with like
They're
that bumpy bottom.
beautiful.
Or no, they don't have the bumpy bottom. They have the flat bottom.
Flat
better
bottom, but like a
glass, people.
heavy weighted bottom. They're good.
Yep.
They're
They're-
quality.
They're thick. They
Really
got heft.
nice. I'd recommend hand washing them, but if every once in a while you're over it, it won't melt in your dishwasher either. So like,
it'll
It won't
glass.
melt,
Win-win-win.
but it might get a little bit dusty. So
Yeah.
I would recommend hand washing,
That's
of
what I
course.
said.
But it's not the same plastic fucking
Yeah,
patriarchy
no,
flexible
these
wine
are-
glass situation.
These are
too legit to quit. So, intellectual property crimes, why not be hella obnoxious and promote all of our own shit?
Yeah. Lucy's wearing a Gossip at the Corpse Cart sweatshirt.
We're fucking doing it, people.
I've got a nice
are the
pop
worst.
wine key.
Mine is in a box somewhere, and I'm really
Always
sad
be
about
branding.
it. Always. So I'm gonna dive into the process of opening this wine, and hopefully
I
not.
already started drinking my wine.
Good girl. I'm not gonna
I've had a
break a
couple of
tooth.
cocktails, which will be obvious when I break into my segment, which is a lot of legal jargon.
Love it. All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Here we go. It's Gina.
Oh my God. What a magnificent pop.
Maybe the best one we've ever done.
It's pulp.
It's
Just kidding.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Well, that's a good coloring.
It's it smells so nice. It has like almost like an apple on the nose.
Yeah.
Like a green apple.
Definitely.
It's
It's
so
like
tasty.
fresh, springy.
If your urine is this color, then you need to drink more water,
Drink more
is
water.
what I've learned. in
Oh
the
my
last
God, it's
few
so
years.
good.
Well, if your urine is that color in the morning, that's fine. But like
Yeah.
midday,
Not great.
Yeah, you gotta drink more water.
Okay.
Anyway,
Cheers.
cheers.
Speaking of urine, cheers.
All right, Lucy, what is our background and maybe psych for intellectual property crimes?
I hope there's
psych.
only psych.
There's no psych.
I'm leaving.
Okay, so before I start, a lot of these notes are copied and pasted because it's a lot of legal definitions and legal jargon, but I did cite everything in my notes, and it will be cited on our website because I did not steal the intellectual property of the authors of these articles.
I was gonna
while
say,
researching intellectual property theft.
That would be a really, really cool flex, though, if you did.
Yeah.
Weird flex, but cool
Yeah,
flex.
I was going to like hyper cite everything that I say,
You know
but
what?
like
There are moments in mine, too, where I'm like, I don't understand electricity. I'm not going to rewrite this. I'm not going to editorialize this nonsense. You
Cats
fucking
and
kidding me? Cats and wigs.
as long as yeah, that's what happens when I try to editorialize.
It's not a good idea
It's
if you
not
want to
good.
be able to follow along with what's happening.
We do
Correct.
list all of our sources on our website on the
Yep.
blog.
Yep.
And
And most of them I cite verbally during my
We
notes.
also do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We try
But
to
also,
use quotes.
all sources are cited on our website in case you had any
And the only
question.
reason we don't list 100% of them out loud verbally is because sometimes, like, I will use like 30 sources for a case sometimes.
In one sentence.
Yeah. So it would our episodes are already long enough, dear God.
Yep. You don't want this.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so, excuse me. According to the World Intellectual Property Organization, the WIPO, World Intellectual Property
The wet ass
Organization,
property organization.
quote,
I have to make this interesting. I can't.
I appreciate it. According to the World Wet Ass Pussy Intellectual Property Organization, the WWPO,
Wah-wah-poo.
quote, hoes in this house. Just kidding.
There's some hoes in this house.
I fucking love that song. I don't care what anyone says.
It's
Okay.
so good.
So good.
Quote, intellectual property, or IP, refers to creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs, and symbols, names, or images used in commerce. So IP is protected in law by, for example, patents, copyrights, and trademarks, which enable people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they invent or create. By striking the right balance between the interests of innovators and the wider public interests, the IP system aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish.
They can't.
Because basically, what's the point in creating something if somebody's just going to steal it right from under you?
You guys,
Exactly.
it's actually so perfect that we're recording this today because part of the reason I didn't sleep a wink last night and now I'm operating on like 4 cups of coffee at 7 p.m.
You can't tell at all.
And you cannot tell at
No
all. You just
hint.
wait until you get to my notes. They're written very specifically. I got sucked into that movie Joy about the woman who makes the mop
The
for
windshield
like
wipers.
QVC.
Oh, wait. That's different. Okay.
Yeah,
The mop.
The mop.
Yes.
Jennifer Lawrence.
The windshield wipers is a
Kentucky.
different one, though.
Jennifer Lawrence.
The windshield wipers is another similar.
Yeah, but that is some intense IP legality.
Yeah, honey.
And I love J-Law, but I did not love that movie. But
I
that's
didn't like
okay.
it the first time I saw it, but last night at
liked it.
3 in the morning,
I
was
liked it.
really into it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
I think mostly because I love J-Law.
I do.
she's
I love her.
okay.
Yeah, she's good.
She's fine.
Winter's Bone was really good.
So good.
Winter's Bone was so good. Okay. So this is a quote from Wikipedia. Wikipedia.
Cite it.
Wikipedia.
Get excited.
Quote, the intangible nature of intellectual property presents difficulties when compared with traditional property like land or goods. Unlike traditional property, intellectual property is indivisible, since an unlimited number of people can, quote unquote, consume an intellectual good without it being depleted. So like it's not a finite product, you know? So there's like that's the difference. Additionally, investments in intellectual goods suffer from problems of appropriation. So a landowner can surround their land with a robust fence and hire armed guards to protect it, or build a moat, maybe. But a producer of information or literature can usually do very little to stop their first buyer from replicating it and selling it at a lower price. Balancing rights so that they are strong enough to encourage the creation of intellectual goods, but not so strong that they prevent the goods' wide use, is the primary focus of modern intellectual property law. So there's a balance here.
Yeah,
we're
well,
dealing with a balance.
When you publish, you want a lot of people to consume your product. You just want to reap the benefits of that and not have it be
Exactly.
reproduced by sleazy people.
Exactly. Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil.
So intellectual property can be split into 6 different types. In some respects, it's 4 different types, but this,
Are you
You know,
okay?
it spread my nose out farther. Yes, I'm trying to stifle a burp.
She
fine.
fully slammed a shot before we started, and you can tell it's creeping up right now.
It's
and
fine.
I love it.
It's fine.
For the listeners
Wine
at
and crime, it's
home,
fine.
there's a lot of clutching the chest and like
I had to burp. I have gashes.
squinting.
Whatever.
For the watchers at home. Did I say
Number one.
listeners? I'm also drunk. Let's do this.
Copyright. Copyright is a legal term used to describe the rights that creators have over their literary and artistic works. Works covered by copyright range from books, music, painting, sculpture to film, computer programs, databases, advertisement, maps, and technical drawings. So, like, copyright is like sort of the basic
Podcasts, maybe. Sounds
maybe.
like it would fit in that.
We'll see. Well, actually,
We
these
needed to have Julian on as a guest. Our
six,
lawyer.
these
Should've
6
done
different types, I think that
really
they
should've
kind of bleed together. Like,
Fucked up.
this is clearly why there are different like IP type lawyers.
It's too much. I don't get it.
Type 2, patents. A patent is an exclusive right granted to an invention. Generally speaking, a patent provides the patent owner with the right to decide how or whether the invention can be used by others. In exchange for this right, the patent owner makes technical information about the invention publicly available in the published patent document. So when you think of a patent, that's an invention. That's like, oh, I made that duck that like dips into the bowl of water.
And I'm keeping the design.
Exactly.
Right.
It's mine.
You file
Right.
a patent for an invention.
But to prove that it's yours, you have to release that information. It can't be secret. You can't be like, I invented this thing. Trust me.
You gotta claim it.
I
yours.
can't tell you how it
you
works.
you have to like, as far as I'm aware, you have to like present your blueprints, like your how this came about. You have
Because
to prove
somebody
that you were the
else-
one to invent it.
Yes. And also somebody else could tweak it
Right.
and then get their own patent. So your design has to be concrete. It has to be exactly what it is.
sure,
Well,
sure,
also
sure,
this
sure,
like IP laws, like all of these, like I just said, they're so melted together, like they're really subjective. So the trademark law, copyright law, all that kind of stuff,
Bird
Kind of
law,
blend.
blah, blah, blah's law, blog.
it's highly specialized because it's so prone to litigation. Then we get to a trademark. A trademark is a sign capable of distinguishing the goods or services of one enterprise from those of other enterprises.
That one
So,
we know.
Yeah.
Trademarks actually date back to ancient times when artisans used to put their signature on their products.
They
So
carved
like
a tiny
like an
TM.
actual like a hashtag or a,
If you look at the foot of Michelangelo's, like the David, it just says TM on the bottom.
no,
Well,
it doesn't.
Well, a lot
know
of
it
artists
doesn't.
did.
That was a joke.
A lot of artists did sign their work, though.
Oh yeah,
No,
still
that's-
do.
Yeah.
That is literally the point. A trademark, it's like a little signature. That's like what this is marking their own work.
Why do companies feel the need to put the little TM on certain things when, like, a lot of things are trademarked and only some of them have the little TM after them all the time? You know what I'm saying?
I think that would be an extra step. I think if let's just say a doll or something had the TM, and then you had an identical doll that didn't have a TM. No, this is a bad example. Okay. What I'm saying is, I think
Put a wig on a cat.
some
Stay with me.
some wigged cats choose to have the TM and some don't. But I think if you have the TM, that's sort of like telling others, like, back off. Like, I
Right.
have this trademarked. Whereas if you don't have the TM, then you're just like kind of like waiting for the lawyers to come. You know what I mean?
So it's
Like,
just
I don't think it's necessary.
I don't think it's necessary either. Like, if they didn't include it, it would still be trademarked.
Exactly.
Right. I think it's probably
Yeah.
just personal preference, and everybody's going to have a different level of like security in terms of how they feel about their intellectual property and how they want to claim it as their own. So either way, like, whatever, I support it. It doesn't harm
I'm
me.
just salty about it because I had to design my mom's business cards for her realtor life. And her realty company that she technically works for, like, they had to have the little tiny TM next to their logo on her business cards. And it was annoying.
I don't know that it's required because
That's why you're salty about it.
I mean, this actually might
You had
come
to
down.
shrink a font.
This might come down to the different types of like IP, legal jargon, whatever. I think that it's a choice.
Okay.
But
Just
like
put it out there.
But think of like Etsy producers, like Etsy artists, you know, like they tend to produce, like a lot of them produce like kind of not knockoffs, but like very similar products to like more common, like something that like Crate and Barrel, for example.
Well, I mean, there are
random
makers on
example
Etsy
might
that
produce.
make like wine and crime fan stuff. Like
Right.
it happens. It's not our exact design, so it's like whatever.
But we're
If
fucking coming at you.
No, we're not.
If it were very similar to one of our existing designs,
Yeah, if it's going to
that
confuse
wouldn't be
consumers
great.
about what's like, like fan canon art and what's actually coming from our website, then yeah, we're probably going to have a conversation, but we really haven't run into anything like
No,
that.
we haven't had any real issues.
Bottom line, none of us are lawyers, so we don't actually know, but also we do have a lawyer, so
And
like
we'll kill you.
don't test us.
But also, please don't make us pay for our lawyer because we love him, but we can barely afford him.
Mm-hmm. Like, we pay him when we need him. That's not what we're saying. But, like, pay him more to sue you?
We're saying don't test us.
Sounds tough. Oh,
Okay.
God. Moving on.
Moving on. Industrial designs. So an industrial design constitutes the ornamental or aesthetic aspect of an article, meaning like a random thing. A design may consist of three-dimensional features such as the shape or surface of an article, or of two-dimensional features such as patterns, lines, or color. So an example.
You could have like a chair.
Like the design
Like you didn't
for a
invent
chair.
like a chair, but you invented like
that shape and color of a chair.
right,
Yeah.
those
So,
materials.
An example of an industrial design is the Herbal Essences shampoo bottle with like the clicky green cap and that tapered shape of the bottle.
TM?
Yeah. So that is an industrial design. That is a
piece of IP.
piece of IP industrial in the industrial design like umbrella.
I like that.
Another example is that Birkin cargo bag with that offset front pocket and the cup holder on the side, which like, hello, why would you pay that fucking much for a bag with a cup holder on it? But like,
I've never
not
heard of
judging,
this.
but super judging. But
I've
like,
heard of Birkin bags, but not the Birkin cargo bag. Oh, that's just the Birkin bag. Is
no, the Birkin is a bunch of different
Also,
bags.
why is it so similar
It's
to
under
Merkin?
Hermes, I think.
Oh, I
How
do
do you
not.
spell
Hermes
this?
Birkin bag that has like a bunch of different bags.
Holder bag.
Says the woman who could never afford one of these bags. I don't like that.
All of my Googling is
I have
pulling
nothing
up
to do with a Birkin bag.
I don't like the cup holder one.
all
No,
of
it's
my
not
Google
cute.
searches are pulling up the cup phone, which is trademarked as seen on TV.
Either way, you don't want this particular Birkin bag there. I
No.
said it.
No. If a magical bag Santa were to come down, this would not be the bag you would want.
No.
Birkin bag
no.
with
Cargo.
holder.
It's Birkin cargo. Just Google Birkin cargo. You'll find it. Anyway, moving along, geographical indications and appellations of origin are signs used on goods that have a specific geographical origin and possess qualities,
I
a
hate this bag.
reputation, or characteristics that are essentially attributable to that place of origin. Prime example, obviously, on our show, champagne.
Yep.
Yeah.
Snag is really
most
ugly, and I hate it.
I know. Most commonly, a geographical indication includes the name of the place of the origin of the goods. So the basic concept underlying these geographical indications is simple and familiar to any shopper who chooses Roquefort over blue, meaning the cheese.
Roquefort.
Darjeeling over black tea, cognac or scotch or Porto or Havana or tequila. These are some well-known examples of names associated throughout the world with products of a certain nature and quality.
Like Kleenex.
That's a brand name. That is different.
Got
Champagne.
It's the champagne concept.
Yep. Got it.
Oh,
Really,
my Lord.
I'm following.
Keep up.
I am
Known for their geographical
going to.
origin and for having characteristics linked to that origin. And also, I have to say, these geographical indications are not limited to agricultural products, although a lot of them are, but it's not limited to.
Bourbon is kind of, bourbon might fall under this.
Well, scotch and cognac fall under this.
So I
and
think
tequila.
I think bourbon has to be geographically
Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
Is bourbon like an American South?
Well, it
Spirit?
has other characteristics, like you said, that link to quality as well, that I always forget, no matter how many times people tell me. And please do not email us, because
Don't email us about
I
any
will
of this.
Google it
Do
for the
not email
zillionth
us about
time.
any of this.
But I've looked it up like so many times. It's fine. I will look it up again. But something about corn, whatever. Moving on.
Yep. I was waiting for that. Something about corn. Fuck it. I hate this.
Also,
No,
these geographical indications, like markers, they have to be applied for. They have to be approved. They have to be like official.
it's a pain.
So, I mean, maybe your corn whiskey has some of these attributes,
cornhole.
but they might not be like officially like stamped and approved. I don't know.
I
think
don't know.
bourbon,
Annoying.
yeah, you know what? I think bourbon maybe isn't geographical, but it is these other appellation things. Like it has to be whatever. But I get confused about that because Jack Daniels is Tennessee whiskey, not bourbon. Whatever, moving on.
Also, Iowa has really good bourbon too because of our corn, but that has nothing to do with like the terroir or the whatever. So
yeah, so ignore me.
Maybe bourbon is
not
one of those. Okay, so moving
Glad
on
we
to
got to the bottom of it, folks.
moving on to trade secrets. So trade secrets are IP rights on confidential information which may be sold or licensed.
And isn't Trade Secret like a lingerie brand?
I think it's a
Victoria's
shampoo.
Secret?
No, not Victoria's Secret.
No, it's like a
Or
shampoo.
store.
Shampoo.
I don't think it's a shampoo.
Next.
I'm
Can we
looking it
move
up.
on? Next.
Because I just need to Google other things during this or I'll die.
The unauthorized acquisition, use, or disclosure of such secret information in a manner contrary to honest commercial practices by others is regarded as an unfair practice.
Chain of clothing stores.
Jesus Christ. Move next. And a violation of the trade secret protection. In general, to qualify as a trade secret, the information must be 1, commercially valuable because it is secret.
Right,
2,
so you can't be like, Polly is a huge fucking cunt
exactly
in HR. That's illegal for
Exactly.
different reasons.
It's got to be valuable, secret information.
I mean, that's valuable to me, but it's not a secret. We all know she's a cunt.
well, 2, it must be known only to a limited group of persons. So
The cool kids.
obviously everyone knows she's a cunt, so this doesn't matter either. Or 3, be subject to reasonable steps taken by the rightful holder of the information to keep it secret, including the use of confidentiality agreements for business partners, employees. So it has to have been attempted to have been kept a secret.
So I can't just splash it around all the place and then...
Yeah.
And then be like, that's my trade secret.
Right.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to be valuable, it has to be limited to a group of people, and it has to be like kept secret in some sort of confines. Like,
My case doesn't really fit well with any of these, but it still is an IP case.
Mine barely is an IP case, but it was the fan pick, so I just made it work.
Okay, but was this a trade secret IP case?
I think trade secret is the closest.
I didn't identify it.
But we will get to it.
Okay.
Your case, Amanda, is very clearly a patent issue.
Parts of it, yes.
Well,
okay. So I just have a couple more things to say.
okay.
So the concept of intellectual property is tied in with human rights in general.
Mm-hmm.
Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights reads, quote, "Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he or she or they or both or neither is the author." End quote. There are moral arguments for the intellectual property rights that fall into three major categories. Number one, personality theorists believe intellectual property is an extension of an individual. Two, utilitarians believe that intellectual property stimulates social progress and pushes people to further innovations. And lastly, sorry?
So would that mean that it's kind of the property of society? Because it's like a building block for society?
Yes, basically. It's that intellectual property kind of belongs to the culture at large because it furthers progress.
And because nothing exists in a vacuum. So like you can't be so nitpicky and be like, well,
I'm the only one who's ever had this idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So as long as this furthers our culture's progress, who cares?
So there's I'm trying to think of an example. Like you can't get I guess you can get a patent for like a nonsense object, can't you?
Probably.
I mean, I think when you apply for a patent, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure that it goes before some sort of panel that determines whether or not you have a unique right to this idea.
So like I couldn't like take a dump and be like, this is my unique
I'm patenting
dump.
my unique dump.
Exactly.
Which, because it doesn't serve any kind of purpose.
Yeah. I'm sure it has to check some boxes.
It's not like replicable.
I'm sure it has to check some boxes. You can't just take a shit and be like, hey, I've patented this.
Okay.
I've poopented this.
That's
I'm
too
sure
bad.
someone has tried, though, for sure.
If you can imagine it, it exists on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and thirdly, Lockeans, as in John Locke,
Heather Locklear.
argue that intellectual property is justified based on deservedness and hard work. This comes from John Locke's theory that a person has a natural right over the labor and products that are produced by their own body.
Ooh, so my case will have some Lockean
Heather Locklear.
Heather
Locklear.
Locklear aspects to it.
Okay. So there are a lot of trains of thoughts, and I feel like intellectual property law sort of blurs that line. Like Kenyon, when we were in debate in high school, we did policy debate, and then our friend Ben did Lincoln Douglas debate, which was like very moral focused
And like philosophical, whereas our version was like
Facts and figures, baby.
Nuts and bolts of like political policy.
There's a precedence for this, therefore whatever. But this whole concept of intellectual property really very much blends the two of them. So
that's true.
There's a lot of moral arguments involved in intellectual property. So according to the FBI, intellectual property theft is a growing threat, especially with the rise of digital technologies and internet file sharing networks.
Napster.
I have definitely stolen.
Napster. And much of the theft takes place overseas, where laws are often lax and enforcement is much more difficult. All told, intellectual property theft costs the U.S. Businesses billions of dollars a year and robs the nation of jobs and tax revenues. This is according to the FBI. Wah, wah, wah. Here are some examples of intellectual property theft. Reproducing, distributing, or otherwise displaying a work without a creator's permission, aka piracy. So like torrent. Every way that Amanda's ever watched a movie in her entire life.
Yeah.
Before we just had streaming services, yes, absolutely. Now I pay for way more than I stole, and I'm getting completely raked over the coals.
It's a lot easier to pay like $19.99 from an Amazon streaming service for a movie that's like still in theaters, where it like feels like, oh wow, I can watch this movie right away. But like, I would rather pay just $20 and go through all the torrent fucking.
That
Click on
being
this,
said,
but not on this, and click on this, and not on this. Like, it's really hard to actually pirate materials.
It can be.
I
If you
feel.
don't know what you're doing, you
I
can fuck
don't
your
know what
computer
I'm
up
doing.
real bad.
it's exhausting, and we're too old for that shit.
Yeah.
But
Over it.
Lucy and I, when we lived in China, we bought a bunch of DVDs.
I have so many DVDs.
I gave them all away to a shitty landlord once before we knew he was shitty. We gave
I
him
still
all of our
have all
DVDs.
of mine.
Oh.
They were movies either currently in theaters at that time. We were in China from 2010, 2011-ish. These were movies that were either currently in theaters or were going to be in theaters 6 months from now that we could buy from a stall on the street
For like 10 cents.
10 cents. It's
You could buy
fucking
one DVD that had
wild.
like 15 different films on it. And it was action DVD.
You could
Get
buy
it.
DVDs that I have a DVD that was like 15 Julia Roberts movies on one DVD.
Oh.
Magical.
That is
It was pretty
great.
great. And we had so many that we were scared that we would be arrested if we flew back with them in our suitcase.
I didn't bring any. I
So
brought some of mine home, but
we
left most of
shipped
them.
them back to the U.S. On a slow boat from China, and it arrived like 3 months later, and we had our, 1,000 DVDs.
I'm sorry. A slow boat from China has connotations, but it was literally a slow boat from the country of China
Yeah,
to the U.S.
it's a literal sentence. And then we had all these DVDs for like 2 years, and then we were like, oh, we don't really need DVDs anymore.
I haven't even owned a DVD player for like 6 years. I don't even have the CD slot on any of my
But
computers.
thinking back to 2010, this was fucking gold.
Exactly.
This was gold.
I was convinced that this was an investment. I was like,
Oh God.
great. I mean, now we never have to buy any of these classics.
It's like when my dad, I don't remember when like the USSR like opened up. I don't remember the exact year or whatever, but he was in college-ish along with my Uncle Todd, his younger brother, and they came up with a scheme to buy a whole bunch of Levi's like denim jeans and fly over to Moscow to sell them. And they were like literally 2 weeks too late. Like they brought all these jeans over
They
to Moscow.
tried to do it?
and
Your dad?
They flew there
did
with
it.
only jeans.
They did it. And as soon as they got over there, like nobody wanted to buy these jeans, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And they it's like denim factory, like within the town square.
I
couldn't
am
even offset
so
these jeans.
confused by this.
Their plan was to like sell this suitcase of jeans.
No, I
a
followed
bunch
the
of
plan.
jeans.
and then road trip through Europe.
Yeah, that was the plan, but they couldn't sell any of the jeans, so they had to like sell them for like, at
Peanuts.
cost.
Oh God.
Whatever. You live, you learn. I love that story.
Similar story. This must have been a little bit before. My mom was in the USSR with her family because her family liked to travel all over, and they had they traveled a lot. It's cool. But she was wearing jeans, and she was walking down the street, and this man,
Your
this
dad
woman
leapt out of a bush with more jeans.
That's how my parents met.
I never heard that story.
No, this couple came up to her and asked if they could buy the jeans off of her body, and she's like, "Oh yeah." They offered her like fucking $60 or something crazy
Back
And
then.
of
back
course,
then.
she obliged and gave them the jeans.
So she walked around with like a shirt tied around her waist as a skirt for the rest of the day because she offed her jeans.
She did it?
For like, yeah.
Of course your mom did it.
Good girl.
I love your mom.
Good for her.
Good for her. Okay, here we go. Get ready to go to the drive. Here's another example of intellectual property theft. Producing slide sandals that say Nikai on one shoe and McDonald's on the other.
These sandals are exquisite. No notes. The Nike the Nike Air Jordan symbol is so off.
I want the
NKIE.
McDonald's. I want the McDonald's
And the
slides.
McDonald's is McDonald's.
McDonald's.
McDonald's. And then notice there's like the
Jordan.
NBA
Yeah.
logo on the bottom,
It's
which
not right.
there's no way that's right.
Not right.
Well, they're different.
Yep.
They're two different shoes, A, and B, nothing is right.
None of it's right.
Oh my god. I got a what's that brand? Miu Miu, MIU. I got a knockoff bag in China, but it was like MIA. But it was like the same font. It was so cute. That's like one of my favorite purses.
I got a knockoff.
Dion's.
I got those in the U.S.
Oh,
at
okay.
a truck stop.
They're supposed
My
to be
Dion.
Dior's.
My
but they
Dion
were
sunglasses,
Dion's.
which were straight fire. I loved
They were
them.
cute.
and
Rest in peace, those Dions.
Rest
then
in Pisces.
they're at the bottom of Lake Minnetonka.
I believe they are, yeah.
I got a fake, not Lacoste bag. What's that bag where it's like all nylon and then like a tiny strip of leather?
Yeah. Oh, what's it called? Oh, it's so cute.
Longchamp.
Longchamp.
Okay.
I've never heard of this.
So in China,
Oh,
you've
they're
seen
so
it.
cute.
You've
They're
definitely
so
seen
cute.
it. I got like a knockoff Longchamp bag in China.
In
And
Beijing, I remember I was not jealous.
In Beijing at the market, whatever, which is like only fake stuff. I still remember how to say Jada, which means this is
Too
fake.
expensive. Oh, I remember how to say too expensive.
Yeah. Taiguela, Jada.
I'm an English teacher. I make Chinese money. This is too expensive.
It's like the only thing I remember how to say, and like Happy New Year.
oh, geez.
Happy Tomb Sweeping Day. 新年快乐. Anyway.
Happy Tomb Sleeping Day. So, anyway, so I bought this fake bag. It was actually a pretty good fake, especially because like most of the bag is nylon. So like, how hard is that? But then a couple years later, I was on a bus and the zipper had broken.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, trying to force it, whatever. And this mom and her like 12-year-old daughter saw me with my broken zipper. And the mom like hits her daughter and goes, "See, those bags are worthless. That's why I'm not going to get you one." And I was like,
You're the example.
Did you say, don't worry, it's a fake? You should still buy your daughter this obscenely priced canvas
I didn't
bag.
say anything more, but I was like, it's a fake. In fairness, it's a fake. But that is why companies care about fakes in their name, because it sullies their brand. I mean, that interaction was exactly the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which is fair.
And the fact that somebody with a Longchamp bag is on this like piece of shit bus.
In my opinion, I say buy the fakes because you're probably not going to be into it in the year, like, until it
If
breaks
it's something
anyway.
really high trend,
It
then
depends on the product, but
Yeah.
It
sometimes
depends on the
it's
product.
fine.
It depends on the trendiness. If it's like something like super in the moment, then like
it's hard to
buy the
tell
fucking
though.
fakes. Who
If you're
It's a
inclined,
good fake.
yeah. I mean, first of all, who fucking cares? What?
Well, also, just for the sake of this show, I am assuming that a lot of these fakes and also a lot of these authentic pieces are built on the backs of enslaved
Some very
children,
fucked up labor.
whatever.
Mhm.
Very fucked up
Yeah.
labor practices. So we also have to take that into account. But moving on.
Yes.
Yeah.
A couple more examples of intellectual property theft. File sharing services like Napster. We've talked about Napster a little bit. Also,
Winamp.
LimeWire. Hello.
Yeah.
So another is reproducing engine parts, which is its own issue because it is a matter of safety and insurance and warranty. So, like, if you're not going to your regular like auto dealership to get something fixed, and it's not guaranteed that that is the actual part that is
For the
certified
vehicle.
for that engine, for that vehicle. So it can be a safety issue. So that is not to say that you can't go to your mom and pop store down the street and try to get something comparable, but it's also just like be aware of what it is that you're putting in your engine, what your warranty covers, etc.
Which sucks because it's like hard to be a really informed consumer if that's not your jam. But like,
Yeah, I don't
it
know
really
shit about
matters.
car engines, but like, yeah, it super
Yeah.
does matter.
Ugh.
Also, crossbreeding plants for commercial use that you do not have rights to. And for example, I think it's in Food Inc., that movie, where they had that example of Monsanto or of the like, the same ilk, companies throwing seeds into fields that are patented, and then they could go back and accuse these farmers of stealing the IP of a company like Monsanto.
Like in a sabotage situation where they're
Yes.
like drive-by tossing
like
seeds?
planting evidence, like planting
Yes.
drugs or something.
Literally
Yes.
planting.
This was a thing that I saw. I'm pretty sure it was in Food Inc., that documentary. They were talking about this. So Monsanto plays its cards in terms of intellectual property. Trust me, they play their cards.
Oh, what
And,
pieces of shit. Okay.
When it comes to, for example, if you had a seed, like a certain breed of corn or whatever, and you had worked to create the seed, and it was producing the exact right type of plant that you wanted, and if somebody else took one of those seeds and crossbred that seed with one of their own, then that would be a violation of your intellectual property because you had
Created the first seed A.
seed A or whatever.
So
The
you can't use seed A to crossbreed seed C without seed A's permission.
not for commercial use.
For
So my
like
creepy
academic
garden in my house is fine.
For like
Well,
academic
it-
research, you
it-
could.
I don't know about academic research, but if you were trying to like raise corn in your own garden,
Yeah,
or
if you're like
whatever,
exploring in your home garden, but you're not selling it,
but the second you try to
Who's
sell
gonna
that
know?
corn or sell those
Right.
seeds or whatever,
or
then yes, that's a
claim that
violation.
this was like your idea, or that like, yeah, if this is an exclusive blend of your making, then like,
But-
fuck you, that's already been claimed.
plant proprietorship in that way is its own like branch of
And once
IP.
marijuana is finally like federally
Oh, honey,
legalized,
yeah.
that shit
Yeah.
is going to be
Explosive.
Epic. They're going to
Yeah.
need their own like legal system, their own courts.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Whoa.
So, depending on the severity of the theft, there are several possible legal consequences for IP theft, including criminal fines, imprisonment for several years, depending on the nature of the charges, seizure of the stolen property, documents, or materials.
The corn, the corn, fancy corn.
Give us your seed.
Hand over
seizure
your
of the
seed.
children of the corn. Ew.
Ish.
Loss or suspension of a business operating license, or civil charges filed by the victim of the crime, for instance, for lost business profits. So that's what can be sought.
Right.
There are also several avenues for legal defenses against intellectual property theft charges, including lack of intent. So that is if the defendant did not knowingly attempt to steal the intellectual property and use it for their personal gain.
That's like that 2 people having the same idea and not realizing it thing.
Right.
Kind of.
I think that would fall under that for sure.
Yes, but also if that is the case, if both parties came together and decided that they wanted to both use their IP property at the same time, they can come up with a mutually exclusive agreement. Yeah. But also number 2 for legal defenses. There can be a lack of ownership rights by the plaintiff. So this is if the material was not actually protected by intellectual property laws. And third, this is my favorite, this clause of unclean hands. And this is when the plaintiff has engaged in wrongdoing by bringing a lawsuit in this manner against the defendant at the time, such as knowing about the infringement for a long time but choosing not to sue the defendant until years after learning about the defendant's first act of infringement. So if they waited too long to be like, hey, you fucked up, you stole my idea, then that can be an unclean hands clause.
Waiting, if you have patent A and somebody comes up with, product B that is too similar to patent A, and then for a long time nobody gives a shit about product B,
or they don't notice
popular.
each other. Maybe
let's just say you worked for Mr. Frosty, and Mr. Frosty had a mint ice cream patent, and you were happily working for Mr. Frosty, and then later you went to form your own business, and you also formed this chocolate mint ice cream thing, and then Mr. Frosty waited 6 years before he was like, wait a second.
It's like a statute of limitations almost.
That's my mint chocolate chip, whatever.
It's also it's
it is like a statute of limitations.
Yeah,
kind of.
If you wait too long, if you wait and see if that product is going to succeed before you care about it, it doesn't.
You could fuck yourself over.
Right.
It also isn't a literal statute of limitations.
No.
It's just this unclean hands clause.
All the lawyers are just crying.
Dying.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sorry, Julian.
What else is new?
This
That's every
unclean
episode.
hands thing is kind of what went down in my case.
Yeah.
Mine is similar to that, but it's also similar to lack of ownership.
I think the whole gist of what I'm trying to tell you is that this IP law is so fucking super subjective that there's so much legality, jargon, whatever behind it. It's just so fucking subjective. So these cases can go so either way, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And back and forth, as we will get to.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Are we ready for my case?
Yes.
As Amanda is texting us pictures of Blanche.
It's true.
Okay.
I am doing
well. Determining what can be considered intellectual property and what can't is especially complex when it comes to the design of dolls. I've had half a bottle of our Chardonnay.
Dolls?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a face and a body.
Because they're, by definition, just copies of human bodies.
Yeah.
And so that brings up questions of whether replicas of human features can ever truly be considered a type of design.
Yeah, it's not your invention. It's the great invention.
I think that this falls under industrial design, like the chair example.
Sure.
Well, like a Barbie. No one is shaped like a Barbie.
Well, we will get to it. So,
great.
For some brief rundown of hashtag doll facts.
God.
before the middle of the 20th century, the vast majority of dolls that were sold in America or in the United States were baby dolls or dolls that were
I just got my nieces for Christmas. I ordered them Baby Alive Grow Up dolls. Glow up.
Why?
They wanted them so bad, and dolls are too expensive. Okay, first of all, it's a fucking racket. Second of all, this doll like stretches out and gets bigger.
It grows? It
Baby
grows
alive grows.
No.
Gross.
It's Baby Alive gross. It's really fucking creepy. I'm not here for it, but they wanted them.
No,
Meow.
just get him a set of Riedel wine glasses and call it a day.
Just give them an old tape ball that you kept forgetting to throw out, and hope they're grateful.
Get him a box.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Get him a box like a cat. Oh, also, I was at Home Goods earlier today. Do not recommend. Everything is so cheap and so shiny, you'll buy way more than you need. Don't recommend.
Yeah.
But they had these stuffed dogs, like life-size Chihuahua sort of dogs, like, kind of this big. And apparently they had a removable, like, rice bag pack in their bellies that you can microwave and then put them back in their bellies, kind of like a puppy surprise, but then it just, like, warms the whole dog.
It's like a lovey.
So it's a warm
it's a
lovey.
warm, stuffed dog.
Oh, I
that
like
would be
that.
so good for people in nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's
And
marketed
also
towards
period
children,
cramps.
so...
I was
yeah.
100% thinking, wow, my menstrual cramps would really benefit from that stuffed dog.
I know.
I was thinking of hospice care personally.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either or.
All of the above.
Hashtag doll facts. Dolls used to be baby dolls or like toddler dolls, whatever. And then
Or puppy dolls.
quote, little girls
Yeah.
or whatever gender, children
Mm-hmm.
would then pretend to mother or parent or nurture these dolls.
Mm-hmm.
Then fashion dolls were modeled on adult women,
Mm-hmm.
but they historically had a more practical purpose. They were like mini mannequins or like mini replicas of the latest fashions, typically coming out of Paris.
That's like a Barbie.
Well, close. And they were marketed as, as like fashion
Yeah.
items.
Fashion replicas.
Yeah, and they weren't considered children's toys for a long time. Then everything changed in the 1950s with the arrival of Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
And we've actually talked about Barbie in our toy crimes
yes,
episode,
we
but I'm going to
did.
talk about other aspects of Barbie because Barbie contains multitudes.
Many layers. Yep. Many
Barbie
multitudes.
is multidimensional.
So it's widely known that Barbie's arrival on the scene led to a shift away from baby dolls and towards young girls or children of any ilk playing with idealized ilk. This is the ilk episode where we just insert the
Hashtag
word
ilk
ilk
facts.
for no reason.
I like it.
So children playing with idealized and sexualized adult female bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
from our
don't
toy-
say.
Those pointed tits. I have an idea. A doll with tits.
and no
Slap
nips.
some tits on this ball.
I have an
Doll.
idea. A heel a good 4 inches above its toes.
A permanently pointed toe foot. Back
That's-
pain.
Natural. No
I can't.
labial folds.
Anatomically sealed.
Lucy.
I'm hermetically sealed to the bike.
Okay, so I'm already hungover because I'm so in my 30s. Okay.
There it is.
Okay, so as we know from our Toy Crimes episode, we know that the design for Barbie was not an original work. The signature look of blonde hair and impossibly exaggerated proportions was blatantly copied from a popular German arguably sex doll.
Not even
named-
arguably.
Definitely
Just a sex
doll.
doll.
named
And not the kind of doll you have sex with, the kind of doll you look at to like get a boner and
Right.
then
I
have
think
sex
it
with
was
yourself.
the kind of doll that you fuck in the mouth.
It didn't have any. It was a
It's
small
a
doll.
Barbie. It's literally a Barbie.
Yeah, it's not.
So do with that what you will. I mean, I
It
guess
doesn't even have
it
an open
was
mouth or
it
hole
has a
to
very
fuck.
tiny mouth.
Not
Was
open.
a sex doll.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Arguably.
okay,
Tool.
so
It's an arousal tool.
yes, as it's pornography. As we know, Lily originated from a comic strip about a ditzy secretary who would do things like show up for work in a bathing suit and exclaim, "So dumb! When I wake up in the morning, I think I'm still on vacation."
I mean, you do you, Lily, but also professionalism.
Molly's a hell of a drug, isn't it, Lily? Get it, girl.
So anyway,
You wear that
kind
bathing
of
suit to
get
work.
it, Lily, but also like kind of tuck it up, you know?
I mean, I wake up every day and scream, "What year is it?" So I feel Lily right
If
now.
you're waking up and screaming first thing in the morning, there's
and
a
then stumbling
separate
downstairs
issue.
in a bathing
It's a separate
suit,
issue.
I'm fine. I'm
I want-
thriving.
I want merch that says, "Kind of get it, Lily, but also kind of tuck it up." So anyway, the Lily doll
never.
was originally manufactured as a sort of gag gift or other for adults who were fans of the comic strip. But it eventually became popular with German children, which was not the intent. So, Mattel founder Ruth Handler was on vacation. When I wake up, I think I'm still
And she woke
Classic
up
Ruth.
screaming every day.
screaming in a bathing suit with her family in Germany. And when she encountered Lily, whom her husband described as, quote, anatomically perfect,
Okay. Sir, your doll.
No.
she had the doll shipped back to California for her
To be
own
burned.
for her own designers to copy.
To be melted into scrap.
To be forgotten.
To be melted.
To be forgotten to
be
the
melted.
ages.
Melted into divorce papers for her husband.
no.
So, again, covered this in
Yeah,
Toy
we
Crimes.
totally
Just a
did.
quick recap. In 1961, the German makers of Lily sued Mattel, claiming that Barbie was an exact replica of the German sex doll. Ruth Handler disputed this, claiming that Lily had, quote, an elongated and distorted kind of look.
She's a mess, okay? Barbie is stunning. Lily is a mess. Okay?
Well, Barbie looked like a regular American teenager, albeit with a anatomically impossibly narrow waist, ankles, and boobs. See photos. There are photos on the drive of both Lily and original Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
A classic American teenager with a 2-inch waist.
Original Barbie looks like an angry Lucille Ball.
Yes.
A blonder,
Yeah.
angrier Lucille
Well,
Ball.
it's the
who I do
eyelash-
not
it's the
imagine when I
eyelashes.
think of the classic American teenager.
Yes, an angry Lucille Ball.
I'm here for Lily's outfit, though. I have that outfit.
Mhm.
But I also, like, Kenyon makes this face regularly. Like,
What face?
Lily's face.
I love Lily's outfit.
this face.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Blanche, my God.
Yeah. I fucking adore Lily's aesthetic is my
Yeah.
aesthetic. So my aesthetic is German sex doll.
Pissed German sex doll.
I mean, that's implied. So German. So, in reality, the dolls were identical, and Mattel settled the case out of court and then purchased the copyright for Lily. Following this initial legal challenge, Barbie remained the unrivaled best-selling doll in America throughout the second half of the 20th century, enjoying roughly 50 years of popularity without competition.
Dang.
It's bonks.
I had a shit ton of Barbies in the 80s and 90s. A lot.
I wasn't allowed to have Barbies anymore because I kept cutting
I
their
had
hair.
2 Barbies.
I was basically Sid from Toy Story for like a hot minute.
Well, we spanned the gamut then. I had a lot of Barbies. I treated them
My
well.
cousins had
I
a
had
lot
like
of Barbies,
little
though.
mid-century modern like off-brand sets for them to hang out in. I had all these special clothes.
Wait,
I loved it.
are we including like knockoff Barbies? Like
Sure.
Darbies?
Why not?
Yeah.
Darbies,
The fuck?
Flarbies,
I had lots
Flarbies roast beef.
lots of Quarbies.
I had the Flarbies beef and cheddar doll.
But there were a lot of knockoff Barbies.
What if I shaved a Furby and masturbated to it?
Meet my Flarbie.
Literally, yes.
Okay. So anyway.
Then maybe you would take the top tier of concern over me who screams every morning.
Shaved Furby was her sexual awakening.
No.
Oh my god. Oh, we couldn't afford
My
a
Sherby.
Furby. Oh, okay. Okay, so then after decades with essentially no competition except from shaved Furbies,
Florbies.
Bratz dolls
Yes.
came onto the scene.
I remember when Bratz dolls came onto the scene. The commercials were intense.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
all in crop tops and like Jankos.
I remember the commercials, but like, I think this was
Here
like when
for
my
it.
sister might have desired those for her birthday, but like,
Yeah, we had aged out a little bit
were
at that
too
point.
above and beyond.
Mhm.
We were like 5th or 6th grade, I'd say, when these
No,
dolls
honey, like 7th, 8th.
We
7th,
were
8th.
older. Yeah, we were older.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right,
But there are
in
like
that ballpark.
a billion photos of Bratz dolls on the drive because I just kept like seeing other ones and being like, oh my
They're
my
awful.
God.
They're so bad.
I like them.
I distinctly remember
Yes.
having a conversation with Kenyon's mother about Bratz dolls when Bratz dolls were on the market, and she like pulled me aside and she was like, "Just give it to me straight. She's not involved in these dolls, is she?"
Like they're cocaine
They
or
have
something.
like lip gloss. They have like frosted lips and eyeshadow.
They wear
and
heels.
high heels. She can't be involved
like
in
'em.
these.
I was not involved.
Yes.
But I mean, here's the thing. Well, you know what? We'll get to it. Okay. So Bratz dolls were designed by a man named Carter Bryant. And from what I can glean from his publicly available Insta posts, he is a big fan of Springer Spaniels and celery with peanut butter.
Yum. To
So
be fair.
Carter had always dreamed of working as a high fashion designer, and he had talent, but he was unable to break into the fashion industry. So he settled, quote unquote, for a job with Mattel, designing outfits for Barbie, which
That sounds awesome.
I honestly think that's a better
Yeah.
job in fashion.
Yeah. First of all, that is a job in fashion.
That's super
You're
cool.
not a high fashion designer, maybe, but
Yeah, but whatever. Carter found the work unfulfilling, not about it. So in 1998, after a few years of, so there you go, 1998, so like 2000, how
I
old are
moved
we?
to Minnesota in the middle of 4th grade, and that was
13.
95.
We were too old. We were 13. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So
Then
anyway.
that would have been, yeah.
In 2000, we were 13. In 1998, after a few years of working for Mattel, he decided to take a leave of absence to figure out a new career direction. So he's not happy at work, takes a leave of absence. He'd been feeling this overwhelming frustration that his creative ideas were not being heard, and he felt that Mattel was, quote, political, risk-averse, and stuck in the past because, hello, it's a major Fortune 500 company. So Carter's leave of absence lasted 7 months. And during this time, he moved home to the Midwest to live with family and probably save money. In that incongruous place of the Midwest, Carter came up with the idea of a line of dolls that were, quote, sassier, and, quote, which is a loaded word, and, quote, more fun than Barbie, and, quote, reflected the rich ethnic mix of modern America.
Ooh,
I knew
this is bound to end
I
up
knew
well.
there was a white guy behind all of this.
This
You
is
just
gonna
know.
be good.
Let's make a doll riddled with stereotypes, slap tits on it, make its feet real big, and here we go! Gold, Jerry. It's gold.
So there are tons of photos on the drive of the Bratz dolls, and I have lots of critiques of the Bratz dolls, but at the same time, like,
They're great in their own way.
there are pros and cons,
Yep.
but also lots of cons in the creator
Mm-hmm.
and
I
then the
see it.
misalignment
I see
with
it.
the content.
I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I see it.
Yep.
I
Okay.
see it.
So, mull on that. So, needing the startup capital to launch his own business, Carter decided to return to Mattel. So he was like, okay, I've got this like great idea, but I need some money. I'm going to go back to my job at Mattel. But after returning to his old job, he kept the idea for his own line of dolls in the back of his mind and a secret. In 2000, Carter Bryant made a mock-up of his first Bratz doll by putting together various discarded doll parts and clothing. And these were literally scraps that he had access to at work.
He cobbled Bratz dolls together from
Yes.
reject doll
Yes.
scraps.
Yeah, he was Sid from Toy Story.
And
creating.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And kinda racist.
Uh-huh.
Not
super
kinda.
Right.
racist.
Kinda super
It was
racist.
But
real
also,
inappropriate.
Really good blend.
Here's the thing. It's like, it's both racist and also up against a different kind of racism in Barbie, which
Right.
is super white and monolithic.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like attempts were made, but this is what white people always fucking do. Instead of putting the right people in charge of such an initiative, we think we can do it and do it better, and then we fail terribly and end up with a racist doll
Well, to
line
Kenyon's point,
made out of Barbie
it was this
scraps.
weird white monolithic Barbie thing. It's the same thing.
Right.
and we will get to the racism of Barbie in 0.2 seconds. So in 2001, Bryant sold his idea for 4 Bratz girls, the original 4 dolls, named Jade, Chloe, Yasmin, and Sasha. And this was sold to Mattel's direct competitor, MGA Entertainment. Carter oh my God, I'm so drunk today. Explicitly pitched the dolls as appealing to a more modern and, quote, urban
Oh, Jesus Lord Almighty.
demographic than Barbie. It's 2001. Whose efforts to appeal to a more diverse market often came off as out of touch and heavy-handed at best. So he's critiquing Mattel's efforts to diversify, which is a very valid critique because, for example, in 1997, Mattel released a short-lived collaboration line of both black and white Barbies. And the line was unfortunately named Oreo Barbies.
No.
It was like a collab with Oreo cookies.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
There are
What?
There are photos on the drive. So there is a white Oreo Barbie and there's a black Oreo Barbie.
I'm uncomfortable.
After receiving pushback, Mattel claimed to be unaware of the racial connotations of the term Oreo.
You have got to be fucking kidding me.
That term
this
has been
whitewashed
around
as fuck company
for fucking ever.
Mm-hmm.
And the just audacity of this super whitewashed company putting out a black doll that they're calling Oreo Barbie.
It just points to the fact that they did not have a diverse enough workforce, or the people who worked there weren't empowered enough to.
All the people who probably signed off on this were white people who were like, "Yep, let's make a black doll. That'll make everybody happy."
Yeah.
Or just white people who were completely tone deaf to the fact that Oreo meant something.
It's a derogatory,
Yeah. It has a lot of connotations.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yikes.
Then the black Oreo Barbies were pulled from the shelves following the public outcry.
Wait, what?
But they pulled because it was like so
offensive.
Problematic and offensive. They pulled
so the term wasn't pulled, but the black Barbies were pulled.
The black Oreo Barbies, branded
so
Oreo.
The term was pulled.
No, that whole Barbie doll with the term. Go on the drive, you'll see. Because
it's like a branded Barbie doll in an Oreo sweater with an Oreo purse. It's like an Oreo collaboration.
Okay, but hopefully the whole Oreo campaign was also pulled.
Doubt it.
Pretty sure the white Oreo Barbies remained on shelves.
That was my fucking question, and that's awful. I hate everything about this. Okay.
Yep. So, MGA, the competitor to Mattel that bought Bratz, immediately saw the potential for an updated competitor to Barbie. They were into the Bratz dolls, and so they purchased Brian's design and they offered him a job at MGA. So he accepts, he quits his job at Mattel 2 weeks later. The first year that they were in stores, Bratz dolls did $97 million in sales.
Wow.
That's deeply disturbing.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot
2
of money.
years later, the number was up to a whopping $1 billion in sales.
Lord.
I'm curious, do you know offhand or from your research the demographic of who's buying these dolls?
It's like sales from FAO Schwartz and whatever the fuck.
Yeah, it's like Target and...
Well, sure. I'd just be really curious to know if people actually felt represented at all by these dolls. What the data
I don't
is.
know. I think it was a mix, but I don't have the answer. Although Bratz dolls were a hit with kids, many adults found them bizarre looking and disturbingly sexualized.
Many of Kenyon's mom.
Yeah, there were a lot of Kenyon's
that
mom.
their child was involved in Bratz. A Bratz ring.
More photos on the drive. When I showed Zach had never heard of Bratz dolls. When I showed him some examples.
Does he live in a cave? Where was he in 1995?
Fucking Yankees Stadium. He was like only into sports. I don't even know.
Ick.
So when I showed him some examples, like some examples are like, okay, totally fine, whatever. But there are some examples, like there's one that literally is the outfit from Pretty Woman.
There's also like kind of a gamut. Like they started as like American Girl-ish, and then they got like just
really sexualized. I don't know. Whatever.
Their eyes got real big. Their lips got real big.
Yeah.
Not cute.
So Jill Lepore wrote in the New Yorker, quote, "Their eyes and heads are so big and their noses so small that if it weren't for their penthouse makeup and their come hither clothes,
oh Lord,
they'd look like emaciated babies, Cupid dolls, or Cupid dolls.
Cupid.
No, it's Cupid.
Cupid dolls in time of famine.
Oh, sad. But now that they say it that way, that's kind of what it looks
So
Which, like, brings
true.
up some points, but also is kind of problematic in and of itself because, like, come hither clothes and, like, famine and whatever.
I'm saying I see the
Wow.
Oh, bless you. I see the Cupid doll, like that Cupid doll look, like that baby look.
Yeah.
Like a
they have,
sexualized Cupid doll. I see
But
that.
it is. It's like a it's like a sexualized baby's head with a lot of makeup
On like a hot Barbie body.
on like a Barbie's body.
Yeah, with bigger
like
feet.
I'm no anthropologist. However, because of like Cupid dolls and like because of like big-eyed like what are those like precious moments dolls, you know? I feel like there has been an increase in like sexualization, or at least like something with like these dolls get like throughout the ages, like throughout history. I just feel like it's just everything's like more exacerbated, and like the eyes are bigger, and the lips are bigger, and like the cheeks are
anime
reddier, and like
too.
Yeah. I mean, my niece is like obsessed with these LOL dolls,
they're
which
gross.
are like, they are, I mean, I get a kick out of them because they're just bizarre to me, but like, some of them have nipples.
It's gross.
Well, we will get to the lack of
throughout
nipples.
history. I just like things are being like more not like explicitly sexualized, but like infantilized. And as our society becomes
combination.
more sexualized, as like it.
Yeah.
There's something real off about it.
It's like it's fucking gross. I fucking
The
hate
creepy
it.
blend of like the infantilization and the sexualization is really
It's super
uncomfortable.
real. It's super there. I hate it. There's something to be said about it. I don't want to get into it anyway. Let's move on.
There are a lot of people on the internets who do like makeup tutorials and like makeup looks, whatever, after Bratz dolls. And like, cool, whatever. You're adults. You can replicate a makeup look and try to be sexual and, you know, sexually alluring. Great. The problem is when like that is like a child's toy. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect that's actually super popular, is like replicating Bratz doll looks in makeup on the internet. And then there are artists and stuff who like will chemically remove the makeup from the Bratz
Yeah, you can use
doll.
like acetone to clean off the doll and then they like redo.
Yeah, and they can redo the makeup, or they can add no makeup and make the dolls childlike, which is actually pretty cool. And there are photos on the drive of like normal looking, like Bratz dolls that have been like de-makeupified and look like cute children. And then there are also some Bratz dolls that are de-makeupified who look like Frida Kahlo or like, you know, like famous women, which is pretty cool.
I don't
Anyway.
love this. It freaks me out, I think.
I think it's creative and fun to like repurpose this product into like famous figures throughout history.
Yes,
it's
it's creative. I think that there's an inherent underlying sexual thing in a lot of these, like specifically the Bratz dolls. Like their big eyes and like their tiny waists, and they're like they're trying to like look like children. I don't like it. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't like it.
All right. Well, here we get to the intellectual property
Thank
issue.
you. I forgot what we were talking about.
As part of the agreement with Bryant, MGA, Mattel's competitor, did not reveal where they had gotten the idea for Bratz. The CEO of MGA even lied publicly and claimed that he personally had come up with the designs with the help of his daughter.
Are
So
we
they
getting
were-
into trade secret territory maybe?
They were keeping Bryant's name and identity a secret. But eventually, Mattel received an anonymous letter from a narc that revealed that Barbie's first
From Barbie herself.
from a Barbie narc.
Written by Narc Barbie. Comes with
there a
writing desk
Narc
with
Barbie?
single light, single desk
light bulb.
Yeah. Bare light bulb Barbie.
She pushes her glasses up her nose herself.
Writing her manifesto in the basement of Mattel.
She looks like Lucy.
So this anonymous letter revealed that Barbie's first meaningful competition in decades had been the brainchild of one of Mattel's own employees.
Oh,
The reason that Bryant had worked or wanted to keep his deal with MGA secret is that he had signed an intellectual property agreement when he began working for Mattel, and that stated that anything he created during his employment was supposed to belong to the company. And he claimed that he created it when he was on leave.
But he's using Mattel scraps to make the first iteration of the doll.
And he sold it to MGA when he was still actively working at Mattel.
Yep. So he's fucked. You're fucked. Sir, you're brats.
Sir, you're brats. Sir, you're hypersexualized racist dolls. So, in 2004, Mattel sued MGA and Carter Bryant for intellectual property theft. Bryant settled with Mattel out of court, and the case between Mattel and MGA proceeded to trial. Wait. I don't know what that sentence means, but I wrote it. It's fine. It went to trial.
They probably didn't settle.
Trial.
Maybe they refused to settle and then went to trial.
That's what. After years of delays, the case was heard in the California District Court in 2008, and Mattel won. They had a solid case that Carter Bryant had been bound by the intellectual property agreement when he came up with the idea for Bratz.
They had video of him cobbling mismatched heads to bodies.
And lips. And like
under the naked light bulb in the basement,
eyelashes.
the scrap area. Yeah. Drawing with Sharpie.
Yeah. Sir, that's Barbie's skirt.
Sir, that's discarded Oreo Barbie that you're fucking with.
Sir, that is not your contouring.
And they also alleged that he had stolen trade secrets and brought them to MGA. The verdict in favor of Mattel ordered that MGA should pay them $100 million, which is basically just what they made off of Bratz in the first year.
Yeah. Hand it over.
It's only like a tenth of what Mattel had originally sought, but it was still a victory. I mean, it's still $100 million.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
But it's also just a fraction of what the Bratz doll
Fucking Bratz.
thing had
So
made
gross.
MGA. MGA appeals. The appeals case was presided over by Alex Kaczynski, then the chief judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit.
And I'm sure he was like, are you fucking kidding me?
No, he sucks.
I know. I know he sucks.
So Kaczynski...
He's a monster, and I can see him being really irritated with a Bratz doll.
Wait, didn't
IP
he
case.
shrink his kids?
Honey, he shrank.
Wasn't he Kaczynski?
No.
He was
Blow up
Kaczynski.
the Oklahoma City
No,
building.
he was the Kaczynski.
No, okay.
Isn't that Rick Moranis?
He was the Kaczynski. Oh my god.
That was the character name in those movies?
Kaczynski. Judge Kaczynski reversed the original decision and ruled in favor of MGA, writing an opinion that became well known as a significant decision challenging the amount of ownership that companies can claim over the ideas of their employees.
Zelensky.
'Cause, like,
Zelensky.
So close.
I was
basically
so
the
close.
same
It was
thing.
basically the same.
Yeah,
So
basically
close.
the same thing. Yeah.
So basically, like, you know, if Carter Bryant had written War and Peace while working for
For Mattel.
would that count? Like, would Mattel own that novel?
No.
I would say no, like what you do on your own time, whether or not you work for a company, okay. But the fact that he was quite literally using Mattel's resources and scraps to build the prototypes for these
and
dolls.
it's in the same lane as the business of the company.
Exactly. That's not the same thing. So I think this was a fucked up reversal.
Right. Kaczynski's ruling was also notable for the fact that his opinions seemed to hinge on his personal musings on female beauty.
Of course it did. I can't wait to hear how Kaczynski weighed in on sexually explicit child's toys. Let's get to it.
He essentially argued that because this is his idea, because there is one agreed upon standard for female beauty.
That's what I have to say about that.
Lucy
She's done.
is just losing it.
I can't.
Yep.
I don't even know what you're about to say. I fucking can't.
So, because according to Kaczynski, there's only one standard of female beauty,
There can only be one.
these aesthetics could not be considered intellectual property. So basically, he was like, look, these dolls are hot. And this is the only way to be hot. So everybody knows that dolls need to be
I
hot.
gotta go.
If God made Barbie in his image, it's God's intellectual property.
Gotta go.
Yeah. So he also noted in his opinion, so in his written public opinion, quote,
God.
there's not a big market for fashion dolls that look like Patty and Selma Bouvier, who are the aunts from The Simpsons. Which is like
I would buy the shit out of Patty
like
and Selma dolls.
bizarre and like not timely reference.
Well, The Simpsons is
Also,
always timely because it will never go away.
Personal
But
identity.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was his example of uggo. Like he was like, nobody wants to look like Patty and Selma Bouvier.
He's
He's the judge.
I know.
He's not the lawyer. He's the judge.
He assumed that the majority of the audience would be on his side because of that reference. Or just because of, like, whatever reference.
He was riffing. He was off book. It was not good.
Don't go off book, Kaczynski.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Some legal scholars thought that Kaczynski's ruling was significant enough that it might cray enough that it might carry the case up to the Supreme Court. This did not happen, but the legal battle was far from over.
Can you imagine if the Supreme Court had to preside over Bratz dolls?
Over one universally agreed upon standard of human beauty. Not human beauty, sorry, female beauty.
You know what? Honestly, if your eyeballs don't take up a solid 40% of your face,
I just want to imagine this coming across Ruth Bader Ginsburg's desk.
Can you Kavanaugh would be like, yeah, this tracks.
I'd move that bitch.
I'd move that bitch.
Kavanaugh would be like, I personally have several Bratz dolls.
He'd be like, yeah, I fucked her sophomore year.
Okay. So, anyway.
Oh, God, I'm going to spit.
I think this episode's going to be 8 trillion years long. I don't care.
So long.
The case went back to district court, and this time the jury was much less convinced of Mattel's argument, so they're skeptical because they're a jury and not one random dude with
one horrible
issues.
dude. Mm-hmm.
MGA's lawyer called Mattel CEO Robert Eckert to the stand and asked him the following question. I am 18, doodling away. I place my doodles in my parents' house in one of the drawers in my teenage closet. 20 years later, I am hired by Mattel. I visit my parents' home and find the doodles. Does Mattel own them? Which is a valid question, right?
But it's not the same. But yeah.
I know, but it's a valid question. So
It
they're
is.
just trying to, yeah. And Mattel CEO replied, yes. Probably
Ooh,
yes.
That's not the right answer. That's not the answer
No.
I would have come to.
Mhm.
No.
Oh.
So what had seemed like a convincing case to the jury at the first trial seemed to this jury like an absurd overreach on the part of Mattel.
Yeah, you can't burst in operating like the asshole that you are because the original case is actually pretty solid. So stick to
Yeah.
the facts here,
If you
people.
weren't-
Right.
You're losing them by being a greedy douchebag.
If you weren't
Right.
employed by Mattel at the time you made those illustrations, I would argue, no, you don't.
Of course.
Although I do see what the CEO was saying, because if you just made a doodle and put it away in a drawer, and then 20 years later you're hired by Mattel and you randomly go back and you find your doodles and then they spark, like, yes, they're ink on paper, but then from being hired at Mattel and from all of that, influence, this ink on paper then sparks the idea for a new toy.
I get it. I get it.
And didn't he pitch it to Mattel and Mattel said no?
He never pitched it to Mattel.
Okay. Got it. He just used Mattel's scraps.
Yes. Hence this horrible gray area that is IP
Right.
legal shit.
Why this has to go to the Supreme Court.
Imagine if intern Derek, who does not exist, came across one of our episodes or emails or something and was like, that's an interesting idea for XYZ, and then took it somewhere else and created something wildly successful and made $100 million
in the first year.
in the first year after it was something that had been sparked while he was our intern Derek.
LOL.
We'd be fucking suing his ass too. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It
Yep.
goes both
It
ways.
goes both
Whatever.
ways.
So this new jury ruled against Mattel and in favor of MGA, so the Bratz people. And the judge ordered Mattel to pay more than $300 million in damages.
Should have just left it where it was.
Fuck.
Well, it was MGA who went back, right?
MGA
They
originally
countersued.
got...
No, didn't MGA originally win
Well,
and then Mattel appealed?
MGA won the $3 million in damages, right?
No.
No, I don't remember.
First case, MGA won $100 million.
Yep. Mattel appealed.
Okay.
Mattel appealed. Mattel now... No, I'm wrong.
It's got to be
First
the other way
case,
around.
Mattel wins $100 million. Second
MGA
case,
appeals.
Counter
MGA
appealed.
wins $300
MGA
million.
won $300 million.
Got it.
MGA net up $200
So
million.
MGA
Yeah, okay.
wins.
Yep. Yep.
There's more.
Oh,
But
good.
the court cases continued. The companies continued to sue and countersue each other, and the matter still is not settled. Still.
To this day?
I mean, the last thing I saw was from October 2019.
But we've been shut down for basically a year, so it's possible that this is still ongoing.
I mean, it started in 2001, so...
Wow.
mhm.
They don't
And
even make Bratz dolls anymore, do they?
They're coming back.
Oh, God.
So in the years since...
come back.
It has been revealed that the corporate culture at Mattel, especially as it relates to the consideration of Barbie as intellectual property, is extremely over the top. So Mattel is like guarding Barbie with its life.
Dying.
Internal memos that were leaked to the press revealed discussions of a, quote, rival-led Barbie genocide, referring to Bratz dolls.
What?
The fuck? There's actual genocide happening on the planet. What the fuck are you talking about, Barbie? What the fuck?
Yep.
That is not cool.
The claim, this is in a memo. Quote, "This is war, and sides must be taken. Barbie stands for good. All others stand for evil."
No.
This case is giving me
My
heartburn.
God, you people need some perspective. What the fuck?
In her 2017 book, quote, "You Don't Own Me, How Mattel versus MGA Entertainment Exposed Barbie's Dark Side,"
I can't find my Tums.
author Orly Lobel.
Oh, no.
That's what I wrote.
The rules
Author
Orly Lobel?
Gesundheit.
Honey Noble.
Author Orly Lobel.
Spit out your gum before you try this.
I have a mouthful of Orly Lobels. Mortals. Wow.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm not.
Roll jaw.
You are orally mistaken. With this name.
You are sorely mistaken.
I'm so sorry.
Don't sue us for Lobel.
Nice. Nice.
They're totally suing us for Lobel.
Oh, Orly, that's a really low blow. Callie, thinks I'm choking because of how I'm talking and is checking on me right now. Lie down. It's just Orly Lowell.
I'm so broken. Okay.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Okay. So this author, who's probably brilliant, and I'm so sorry.
Orly, probably.
They're explores the paranoid and litigious history of Mattel. One former employee whom she interviewed, told her, quote, not quote, that he was
I was like, I'm following along.
Shout
There
out
is
their
no
shit
quote
one
here.
more time. We owe it to them.
Orly Lobel.
Orly Lobel.
You don't own
her
me.
2017 book, You Don't Own Me, How Mattel versus MGA Entertainment Exposed Barbie's Dark Side
By Orly
by the
Lobel.
Queen Orly Lobel. Roll jar. We're so sorry.
So this Mattel employee told her that he was required to speak in meetings with his face turned away from the window so that any potential corporate spies with a telescope couldn't read his lips.
Sir, your lips.
Sir, your lips.
Calm down,
Only a
people.
Kenyan.
Calm
Come on.
down.
Jesus fucking Christ. Come on. We have to go.
So some other recent intellectual property lawsuits that Mattel had initiated around the time that they sued MGA included one against the pop band Aqua for their 1997 hit Barbie
I
Girl.
remember that.
Banger.
Banger.
That shit fucks.
How dare you?
That
It's-
shit fucking
yeah.
still slaps, and
Still
my
slaps.
Girl Scout troop did an entire music
Interpretive
video
dance
to that song.
Yes.
Yeah, if you didn't get together with your
Yeah.
middle school girlfriends
Yeah.
and choreograph
Come on,
something
Barbie.
to Barbie
Let's
Girl,
go party.
Let's go
wah,
party.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, wah, ooh.
Yeah.
And also a lawsuit against a fetish store called Barbie's Shop, which was actually named after the owner whose name was Barbara.
Yeah, calm down. That's my name, and
Yeah.
it's my shop.
Also, watch out, Barbie Joe's Antiques
Oh,
or
right, that
whatever.
antique place in Hollywood, Florida.
So
Yeah.
good.
So good. So Mattel versus MGA has become well known in the legal community and in the press for its messiness, its long duration, and its ridiculous cost, much like this podcast.
Episode
Got
in
it.
specific.
One person connected to the case stated anonymously in an interview, quote, "This case has burned a bonfire of money, maybe the equivalent of the GDP of a small nation. And yet there is no real sense of what either company has gotten out of it. So they just
Woof.
keep suing each other. Nobody makes any money from the settlements because they keep being appealed. It's a mess."
Mm-hmm.
The continuous lawsuits have been a windfall for the corporate law firms, but that's about it. The case is also notable for the fact that a seemingly mundane disagreement over intellectual property has turned into a bizarre discussion of female beauty standards and sexuality and children, leading to courtroom discussions about whether it's possible to own ideas like enlarged eyes and elongated limbs, and I would argue tits without nipples.
Or tits with nipples, but no areolas, just the bump so that it shows through the shirt.
Who? That's new. That's
LOL
not the brats.
dolls. The
Yeah.
newer ones have nipples.
That's different. That's new.
just for the shirt aesthetic. For the Rachel.
I was gonna say.
For the Rachel.
So, in a not at all surprising twist, Judge Kaczynski resigned from his job during the Me Too movement.
Yep.
After more than a
Bye-bye.
dozen women publicly accused him of inappropriate workplace conduct.
And he was like, well, since you don't fit the one standard of female beauty, this won't hold up in court.
Mhm.
So, goodbye.
Author Orly Lobel
Whoa.
interviewed Judge Kaczynski for her book before these allegations became public, and in response to a comment that Lobel made about Barbie being harmful to girls' body images, Kaczynski responded, quote, "The only thing wrong that I saw when I held Barbie is when I lift her skirt, there is nothing underneath."
Kaczynski said that?
What an interview!
A judge?
With an author.
A judge? On the record?
Mhm.
Oh. Okay.
I hate him.
He did
I
not
hate
shrink his children. That is
No.
two different people.
No. Yeah.
Fuck
All right.
that
And in
guy.
a perhaps, I hate him so much. In a perhaps sad twist, Carter Bryant, inventor of the Bratz dolls, lost the entire fortune he had made in his original deal with MGA due to settlement money and legal fees that he owed because it's been going on for 2 decades. He even ended up having to auction his personal collection of first edition Bratz dolls for extra cash.
Oh,
so
sad.
sorry.
Tiny Bratz doll size.
Yep. I have a
Jerking
Bratz
off.
doll size
I
violin.
hate
playing
everything
for you,
about
Carter
that.
Bryant.
Thank you for this expose. It
Thank
was
you so
awful.
much. I'm sorry that was a long case, but there was
There
a
was
lot,
a lot
to
to cover.
If you saw the movie The Prestige, then you know where this is going, kind of. And no, I didn't remember the name of it, so I Googled, quote, that movie with Hugh Jackman, Tesla,
Oh,
and
okay.
figured it out.
I feel
Now
like
I
I
get
saw a different movie about Tesla and Edison.
No, it was with
Well-
Hugh Jackman, and it was called The Prestige.
Yep, and it was such a stupid Google search that I did screenshot it to drop in the drive for the blog. I don't think it's up there yet, but it will be there. So also, I'm so bored by intellectual property and electricity that I basically downed 6 cups of coffee and put myself into a borderline cocaine-fueled state to write these notes. A borderline. And I will warn you, it shows.
I saw a movie that came out in August 2020 with Ethan Hawke about Tesla, and it
Yeah,
was
that's
not
sure.
good.
So the Tesla-Edison feud is one of the most famous historical feuds and has maintained a pretty strong presence in current pop culture to this very day. Nikola Tesla was a 28-year-old Serbian immigrant when he arrived in New York City in 1884. He was young, he was straight up brilliant, and he got a job really fast working under Thomas Edison, who himself, by the age of 37, had accomplished a fuck ton in electrical engineering. So he had a fully functioning lab that was consistently making groundbreaking discoveries in technology, and he had recently come out with a newer and more efficient telegraph machine, which I assume is like the first iPhone, and had already founded the Edison Illuminating Company that was literally bringing electric light into cities and homes across the country.
They were like feuding against each other, though. They were like...
At this point, they were not, because Tesla was working for Edison. Tesla came to the U.S. and got a job working for Thomas Edison.
Yeah, he was like a young ingenue.
So neither was like the Amazon guy. Bezos.
Jeff Bezos? I mean, I guess you could kind of say that Edison was.
Edison was like Steve Jobs if Steve Jobs had a more brilliant intern that he fucked over.
Correct. And if Steve Jobs was like a horrific monster, and we'll get to it.
I think he was. But anyway,
I mean, yes, probably, but not in the way that Edison was. So when Tesla came knocking for a job, Edison was like, fuck yeah, let's do this. And Tesla got to work helping update and install equipment in the lab, repair generators, design brand new machines. Like, he was in on the ground floor as basically a savvy lab maintenance guy, but pretty quickly Edison was like, damn, this kid's legit. So about a year after starting to work for Edison, Tesla was like, wait, I can do this and I can do it better? So I'm going to go start my own electric lighting company, like do my own thing. And why should Edison have all the fun? I want to get in on this too. Mm-hmm. So Tesla had a system of his own for efficient energy transmission that I'm not even really going to try to explain. So don't ask me and don't at me either.
Just watch The Current War.
Exactly. Or The Prestige.
Google it.
Just Google it. Bottom line.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict, Google it.
Benedict,
Google it. Tesla developed a system. His system of alternating currents, so AC, for induction motors. And this was the beginning of the epic nerd feud. AC. So because we're in America, the foundation of the feud at first was like, okay, we have two systems. We have AC and DC, AC/DC. And yes, I was today years old when I realized that's why that band is called that.
Yeah.
I put that together on an airplane while watching The Current War starring Benedict Cumberbatch.
They're both legit systems.
Benedict
Only
Edison.
one can be the universal standard for this country, and Edison was here first. So Edison wanted it to be him. So Edison's direct current, the DC method, was already widely used nationwide because he was the only one who was like, he invented the fucking light bulb, for God's sakes. Like, he was the electricity man. Yes. But it had a big drawback. So as electric power grew as an industry, direct current power faltered when it came to, quote, converting low voltage from power plants into high voltage transmission lines that could carry electricity long distances. So getting from the power plant into people's homes was a challenge with DC power. Obvi, with the intention of like power being put in every home in America, this was going to be an issue. And Tesla, the sly dag, had solved this with AC, the alternating current method. So he figured out that using transformers, which if you ever see or hear one of those explode, it's really loud. Transformers as hubs for distribution would allow more control in raising and lowering voltages, which allows for fewer power plants, but miles of transmission wire of electricity in between.
So, just in case you know, like lower voltages are just like between like smaller distances, and then the higher voltages are between the longer distances. Is that how it happens?
I think so. I think it's a combination of like having more control of voltage and being able to like bring voltage to a hub and raise and lower voltage within that hub to like maybe generate some kind of charge and then continue its travel.
So it makes sense.
Is doable with the AC method, but not doable with the DC
So it
method.
makes sense that these higher voltages have these boxes and those are more prone to explosion.
I think so, because it's like those boxes are like a regulation hub. So there's a lot going on in those bad boys.
All I know is that one method is safer and one method is less safe. And also,
well, you know that because of propaganda. And
I don't think they're more or less safe, really.
So, sorry, American Edison, immigrant Tesla one-upped you, sold these patents to George Westinghouse, who was like a BA at the time. So George Westinghouse was an American entrepreneur living in Pennsylvania who achieved a lot as a young guy. So he created the railway air brake. Cool. Congrats. Damn. I'm sure Joe Biden loves you. And had a huge boner for the electrical industry. So at barely 20 years old, he's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to buy this patent and I'm going to help develop and revolutionize electricity as we goddamn know it. Let's go. Dude dumped everything he had into this like partnership with Tesla, developing AC power, like buying all of these patents from Tesla and making it happen. And in 1911, in the greatest fuck you to Edison ever, he received the Edison Medal from the American Institute of Electrical Engineers.
And that is why you can't name a medal after a living person.
Yeah. For, quote, meritorious achievement in connection with the development of the alternating current system. LOL, burn,
and
Edison
was like in the room, just
pretty much
like,
had to present the award. Wouldn't you even love it, bitch? So when Tesla and Westinghouse, couple named Testinghouse, teamed up, shit really took off, and Edison was pissed. So pissed, in fact, that he sunk hard cash into campaigning against AC power, and these campaigns were brutal. So he would promote DC power and then denounce AC power, saying it's dangerous, by giving public displays of AC power electrocution in front of a live audience.
I remember this from the film.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And we've absolutely mentioned Topsy the elephant before. That was Edison.
Here's the thing. Yeah, Edison was the one who, like, killed a bunch of things.
Oh, yeah.
Demonstrating Tesla's invention.
Yep, AC power as being dangerous in propaganda moves.
Morally ambiguous.
Oh, it's fucked up. I can't linger on this portion like too long because it's so evil and heartbreaking, but it's also very important to the story. But the Topsy the elephant scene was one such a supervised display by Edison, curated and supervised by Edison, of the danger of AC power. And they did this in 1903. They literally hung up and electrocuted Topsy the elephant in front of a live fucking audience.
Did she die?
It's like,
Did she die?
oh yeah, she did die.
Elephants are so beautiful and they're smart and perfect, and it's so terrible.
Well, it's just so fucked up beyond belief, and it also proves nothing against AC power's about AC power's safety, other than the fact that if used for violence, it will be violent. So a quote from a Vox article that is basically the backbone of this timeline for my entire case because it was so good. But they put this perfectly by saying, quote, "The logic wasn't particularly sound. It's like saying drowning cats in vats of soda proves that sugar is bad for you." So, like, of course, if you use the soda in that manner, you're going to kill something. Right. But that doesn't mean that soda and sugar are dangerous in that way.
Well, they are, but in a different way.
Well, right, but not in that example.
If you use too much of something, it can be real bad, but that's not the typical use.
Exactly. So what's worse is that Edison didn't need to fucking do this at all for any reason. Like, this is some Trump level, like, losing the election bullshit, because Edison, by 1903, when he brutally and needlessly and painfully killed this beautiful and innocent animal, I literally cannot, he had already lost the fight to Testinghouse. So Westinghouse had already won a bid to electrify the World's Fair in 1893, which at the time was like Shark Tank times a billion.
Yeah,
like if you were featured as an inventor or entrepreneur at the World's Fair, you had fucking made it. This is how people learned every new thing that was coming into the world. And their ability to power the entire fair had sealed the deal for selling AC power across the nation. Like, absolutely no contest. So 3 years later in 1896, General Electric, GE, completely converted, see what I did there, from DC to AC power, and this was swiftly becoming the standard. So Edison was already outdone when he killed poor Topsy 7 fucking years later.
So he was just couldn't let it go.
Conniving piece of shit. I will die mad about it.
This is so exemplary of the Trump administration. I'm so sorry.
There's if Trump could be like publicly killing to try to denounce Biden, he would fucking do it.
Anything.
So once again,
He is. It's called COVID.
I mean, yes, COVID-19.
Called anti-masking.
If there were a live, healthy element that Trump could trot out and electrocute in front of a crowd, if he thought that,
and it would win, quote unquote, win him the election,
he would do it.
He'd do it. So again from Vox, quote, Edison's elephant electrocution was an after-the-fact flail at relevance DC had already lost.
It was a Hail Mary.
Yep. So Tesla at this point was like, dope. I sold my patent to Westinghouse. Westinghouse is clearly crushing it. I'm going to keep spreading my wings and making a ton of shit. So he's already giving traveling lectures by 1892. He's making huge strides in the development of radio. And despite what historical pop culture tells us, he really didn't think about Edison very much. Like, he was not worried about their quote-unquote feud. That was pretty fucking one-sided. And I do believe that. Like, he's out on his own. He's doing rad shit. He's not engaging in this bull, while Edison is the one being an insane, like, pouting toddler and perpetuating the
Freaking
myth
out.
of this epic feud that to Tesla was meaningless and dumb, and he just really didn't get involved in. So Thomas Edison Trump, and I can only imagine some version of COVID-addled, hair dye dripping, audibly farting Rudy Giuliani keep at their fear-mongering techniques to take down Tesla and Westinghouse, and it turns out they'd been doing it on a smaller scale than the Topsy killing for years. So this is from Smithsonian Mag. In June of 1888, Edison began to demonstrate the lethal power of alternating current, AC current, for reporters. He rigged a sheet of tin to an AC dynamo and let a dog onto the tin to drink from a metal pan. Once the dog had touched the metal surface, it yelped and, quote, the little cur fell and died, is what he said. Electricity will kill a man, quote, in the 10,000th part of a second, is what he was trying to prove to these reporters. Edison told one reporter shortly after the demonstration, and he was quick to remind him that, quote, the current should come from an alternating machine. So, like, this was him.
Is he trying to say that DC current couldn't?
Is safer.
But, like, DC current couldn't be used to kill an animal?
Did he
I
kill
think
the dog?
that's what he's... Yeah, he killed that dog.
Yeah,
he killed
a bunch of animals.
A lot of animals. Yes, that's essentially what he's trying to say is AC current will kill you, DC current will not. So, but I mean, DC current used in that capacity could fucking kill you too. Like, you can get electrocuted in all kinds of ways. So Westinghouse was like, dude, ew, stop. We get what you're trying to do, and this is fucked up.
Stop
and
killing animals.
He sent Edison a letter that read, quote, I believe there's been a systemic attempt on the part of some people to do a great deal of mischief and create as great a difference as possible between the Edison Company and the Westinghouse Electric Co., when there ought to be an entirely different condition of affairs.
Yeah, like fucking
hit him
stop.
hard, Westinghouse. Yeah. But Edison did not cooperate, and he kept at it. He did prove, however, that AC power, when used in a specific way, was way more, like, could be more lethal because it's more efficient than DC power. So we do owe Edison's hatred of Tesla's tech for the electric chair.
I was gonna say, yeah,
and this
like
is where
the
that
U.S. government was like,
I want it.
It
and
can
this is
kill
where,
an elephant?
Yeah. This is where, like, some of that trade secret stuff comes into play. So a New York State prison reached out to Westinghouse originally, because they were the owners of the IP, wanting to develop an AC power electric chair for prison executions. Westinghouse immediately was like, fuck no, and refused to sell the tech to him. So Edison, the fucking snake, found himself a workaround. Again, from the
Edison is really a horrible monster.
A fucking bad person. Yeah. Like, no white male from that era is a good person, really, or like any era. But he was particularly awful.
Wow.
Again from the Smithsonian Mag, quote, an electricity salesman named Harold Brown was commissioned by the state to build an electric chair, and Edison was paying him behind the scenes and like feeding him the information he knew about the AC current for the design. Somehow Brown got his hands on some AC dynamos, which somehow being he got them from Edison, who'd been using them in these experiments for years. And sure enough, the device was built, and on August 6th, 1890, William Kemmler was the first to be executed in America with the electric chair. The execution was horrific. So he survived for several minutes after like the first wave of voltage and was noted to still be breathing and gasping for air after the first round of electrocution, and they had to throw the switch again to finish the job, while bystanders were literally passing out and vomiting at the sight of it.
That is so horrific and so much worse. First of all, I'm not okay with the death penalty.
No, hard no.
But that is so
give me the firing squad, for fuck's sake.
Which the Trump administration is actually trying to bring back. But like
firing squad?
The firing squad is honestly
all of it is
what they're trying to bring back.
Oh yeah, before he leaves office, that's their lame duck. They're trying to bring back the firing squad. Yeah,
it's so gross.
It's all terrible, but like this is fucking terrible. It's all terrible.
Really bad.
I'm not gonna
So Westinghouse again is fucking pissed. He's furious. This plus the animal killings was actually also working a little bit to undercut AC power sales and promotion. And Westinghouse also paid over $100,000 in legal fees to take this electric chair bullshit to the Supreme Court for cruel and unusual punishment in a case that obviously lost.
Well,
because
can you imagine if wine and crime podcasts were used to like torture prisoners at Guantanamo Bay? Which,
I feel terrible about
they
it.
very well could be.
I know, please
torture?
God, I hope that's not happening because it would work.
But like, yeah, it would be horrible and awful.
It'd be fucked up. So regardless of this dark, like near decade in the history of electrical engineering, AC power did win out and is the standard in the United States. So in terms of intellectual property theft, obviously we have this trade secret issue, and there's a lot of rumor. A lot of it's not 100% substantiated, but there's a lot of rumor surrounding Edison and whether or not he is like a legitimate inventor. Much of his historical legacy paints him as a thief who was good at hiring smart people to work for him and then taking credit for their revolutionary inventions.
So he might not have even invented not electricity, but the light bulb.
He may have. Like, and he, a lot of that technology could have been his, but it also could have been like apprentice technology that he had the power and the wherewithal to market, and then he gets to say it's his.
Yeah.
So whether or not this is 100% true is still unclear, and an employee of Edison's who was eventually enticed to move over to Westinghouse Electric Co. as the chair of their electrical engineering department. So like they keep siphoning off people from Edison's company, which is great.
A lot of poaching, which is kind of a dick move, but like I get it.
But this guy would literally go on to launch radio into the stratosphere. Like in 1906, he was the first person to broadcast words and music via radio waves. So this guy was also super brilliant, and he had something to say about Edison being an IP thief. And he said, quote, "The question has often been put to me, is Edison really a good inventor? Are not his inventions really due to his assistants? Having worked with him for a number of years and having made a rather special study of the science of invention and of inventors, my own conclusion is that all of the inventors which go by his inventions which go by his name were made by him personally, and that there is only one figure in history which stands in the same rank with him as an inventor, and that is Archimedes. Or whatever. So, loyal until
what
the
a
bitter
name!
End.
That goes down in history.
So I think there was a lot of loyalty there still to Edison, even though he didn't work for him anymore. One person's opinion doesn't make it fact.
Somebody can be a brilliant inventor and also a
steal
dick.
ideas. Yeah. So in my absolutely uninformed and not rooted in any fact opinion, Edison was a piece of shit who would clearly do cruel shit to get ahead, including stealing AC power tech to sell to a New York State prison to bolster his campaign about how dangerous AC power is. So, like, yeah, he could absolutely have been a legacy IP thief, and I think he probably was. But in the epic battle of Tesla versus Edison, the only thing that really matters to me is this portion of a livescience.com article, which begged the question, who was the most fashionable? Quote, Tesla was tall, slender, and imposing with a dashing mustache and an impeccable sense of style, Carlson said. His top hat and tails were even on display in a museum in Serbia. By contrast,
Even on display in a museum in Serbia.
Well, he was a Serbian immigrant, so that's probably why they put his top hat and tails in a museum. But, you know, either way, get it, Tesla. By contrast, Edison was known to be a bit of a slob. Quote, we're not really interested in seeing what Edison wore because it was pretty forgettable, Carlson said. Edison even wore shoes 2 sizes too large so that he could slip in and out of them without stepping down to untie them. What a travesty.
Okay, I get that. I buy all of my shoes a half size too large, and I love it.
I couldn't do 2 sizes, though.
But
That's
it's
like
also
clown shoes. That's pretty
nobody
extreme.
else's problem. So cheers
know.
to you.
I take offense.
I would say, hey, glad you're
Get your
having a
big
good
shoes.
time. Do not tell me about how well your shoes are fitting. Cheers.
Great. And with that, that's my case. We're
Well
done.
done. And
We did it.
I love electricity, and
I
thank
do
you so
love
much.
electricity.
I love electricity.
I'm a big fan of electricity.
We will see.
Hot take.
We're using it right
we
now.
will see you next week, given that we have electricity.
Thanks
Assuming
to
we have
electricity.
electricity. We'll be back.
Also, special thanks beyond electricity to our fan picker, Caitlin Jennings. Happy early or spot on or belated birthday.
Or all 3, depending
I'm
on
so
when you're
glad
listening
you
to
were
this.
born at some point. God bless.
Me too.
Yeah, congrats on your birth.
Well
We'll
done.
see you next week.
Bye-bye.